Welcome to our online community. I only wanted to have it as an offline program, but it ended up becoming an online program also. So those of you online, can I request if you can just switch on the camera so at least we know who all are there. So little personal about it. And after a while, if you wish, we can switch it out. That's okay. We'll have to do a little space management gradually. So if the man can come here on this side, okay, and the mothers can adjust it this way. So we have space here. So about this program that we are doing here, it's been a while since I did the level 1. What do I mean by level 1 is an introductory course on Bhagavad Gita. It was several months ago, almost close to a year ago, around December, I believe, several months ago when I did that. So post Janmashtami, there were several requests. So I thought I'll do it. So this is an introductory level 1 course where we're going to talk about the fundamentals of Bhagavad Gita. We have 3 levels of courses in Bhagavad Gita. This is the introductory, titled as Gita in a Nutshell, Gita Wisdom, so and so. Second is called as Gita Essence, where we study all the 18 chapters in summary. And the level 3 course is titled as Gita Life, which is ongoing in Hindi and English right now. In English, every Saturday afternoon, 12 o'clock, and in Hindi, every Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock. So level 2 course is not happening right now, but this is a level 1 course. Okay. Based on all the responses that I received, we kind of chose English language because all of you chose English language as a majority. So we would conduct this program in English language. The schedule of this program would be 6 o'clock to 7:30 every Saturday. The duration is 5 weeks, 5 sessions, beginning from today. I would request, if possible, if all of you can maybe try to start 10 minutes earlier, so you reach in time, just because it would be a little packed program. If I start early and if I have discussed certain concept which you probably missed out listening to, you will find a little difficulty catching it up. So we can start in time, we can end in time. So when I end depends on when you allow me to start. Okay, so that's a kind of little disclaimer. So once again, I don't know if you can really see the screen. There's space. You can come here otherwise. The screen will not be visible. So with that, a little short introduction, I'll offer a short prayer. We'll start the program. And once again, announcement for the kids. If kids want to learn Bhagavad Gita, so be it. Or if they want to learn what our Bhakti school teacher is going to teach, you may please walk behind the teacher here. What's the call for the kids? Yes, please.
So to all the parents and kids, we are already having Bhakti school, which we run full-fledged on Sunday. And as you are accompanying today your parents, so you are most welcome to join our Bhakti school. Objective is that we do fun activities. We also learn Bhagavad Gita, but not the way your parents are going to learn, maybe in a much fun way, story way, okay? If you would like to stay here, that's absolutely great. But if you are interested doing some games or some stories or some coloring, then you are more than welcome to join us. All right. So your choice is yours. Right now you need to decide. Okay. In between, you won't be able to travel. Okay. And then once the session is done, we'll come back before. Okay. So anyone who would like to come or want to stay here only? We have lots of activities and games planned for you. And we are here only just across.
Okay, now the kids have got some inspiration. Probably
they
were frightened when I was speaking. They didn't want it to move. So now they're probably moving a little bit. Okay. Om Agyanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatai Dishatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gau Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So once again, welcoming everyone. And let's begin with our presentation for today. So we are in the series titled as Gita in a Nutshell, 5 sessions. And the very first topic for today is God in control. May I request everyone if they can kindly keep their phone in silent mode? Trust me, the world is not going to end. If in case you missed out attending some cause, take my word. I do it many times. I do switch off my phone or silent for a good amount of time. So if you can just a little bit hang on with that, that'll be helpful. So is God in control? That's the topic for today. This is based on Bhagavad Gita, the 5 key subject matters of Bhagavad Gita. Considering the time, I'll not speak on the introduction of Bhagavad Gita right now. If time permits later on, then I'll do that later on. So there are 5 key components. Bhagavad Gita that has around 700 verses, and there are 5 key themes and topics being discussed by Lord Shri Krishna to Arjuna. Who is God? Who am I? Living entity. What is this time? The time which destroys everything and is certainly always functioning, always working. What is karma? The law of karma. Every one of us have heard of it. Some of us may know of it. And many of us may have many misunderstandings about it. And the 5th is about this creation. What is this material world? What are the features of this material world? What are the characteristics of this material world? Like that, these are the 5 important themes of Bhagavad Gita. And that is what we intend to discuss in this Gita in a nutshell. So very first topic today is God in control? Many times people ask this question, oh, there is so much crisis. If the God has to be there, is God really in control of all this is happening? Why, if people say God exists, then why there has to be a COVID breakout, there has to be an accident, there had to be natural disasters? So either you say God does not exist, then it's simple. Things are happening haphazard randomly. But if you say God exists, but still things seems to be out of control, then question arises. Is he really in control or has he lost the control? So before we get into this, is he in control or not? The very fundamental question to begin with, does God really exist? This is a question which has been debated, asked since the beginning of the time about God's existence. I would like to tell you a brief story about this and then take it forward. It's a story of a village where outside of the village, there was a saintly person who was living. He was performing his tapasya. He had a small ashram outside. And the villagers decided one day, why don't we invite the saintly man inside our village, host him, and have a pandal program where he can tell us about his realizations on God. So after a lot of coaxing, a lot of requests, finally the sage agreed. There was a big pandal program. All the villagers lined up. Everything was there. There was a big dais on which the sage was welcomed, introduced, garlanded and everything. And the sage was given the mic to speak. The sage looked at the audience and then he looked at them and he asked the question, how many of you believe in God? People were confused. What do I say? So nobody raised their hands. And then the sage said, what is the point of me speaking to people who do not believe God exists? Therefore, I would not speak. And he walked away. People were surprised. Oh, the sage finally came. He was supposed to speak. He didn't speak. What to do? And there was a meeting. You know, every project, there is a meeting that happens. what mistakes did we do, how do we improve and whatnot. So there was another meeting called by the Sarpanch, and they decided if when we invite the sage next time, if he agrees to come, and if we happen to ask the same question, all of you should raise your hand, which means the sage would be happy. So that's what happened. The next time the sage, after a good amount of coaxing, finally the sage came, and the sage was asked a similar question. Sage asked a similar question to the audience. There's a second meeting. How many of you believe God exists? Everyone raised their hand this time. And something interesting happened. Everyone was looking at the sage, what the sage is going to speak. And the sage replied, well, if you already know about the God, then what is the use of me speaking about him? I would not speak, and he walked away. Now this is becoming a big kind of a dilemma. How do we make the sage speak beyond the question? Then they came to a conclusion. If the sage happened to ask this question again, 50% audience will raise their hand, and other audience will not raise their hand. 50-50. So there is a 50-50% chances that he might speak. So finally, after a lot of coaxing, finally the sage came, sat on the dais, and everyone was ready. Everyone knew what the sage was going to ask, and the sage did that. And he asked, how many of you believe God exists? And it was a pre-planned. So people sitting on the left, everyone raised their hand. People sitting on the right did not raise their hand. The sage looked at both the parties, and he said, oh, those of you raised your hands, please tell all those who have not raised their hand. What is my use here? I walk away. So it's a little interesting story, and the story of a today's man. Our faith keeps on wavering like these villagers. When it suits us, we say, yes, he is. When it doesn't suit us, we deny his existence. How many of you putting your hand on your heart would agree with what I'm saying? Is that a condition in today's world? Yes or no? Please raise your hands. No, I'm asking, raise your hands. You have to be responsive. Don't make a 360-degree angle turn. I don't know what you mean by it. Okay. So please be responsive. Say, raise your hand, raise your hand. So I get to know that you're understanding. Please, once again, I didn't see how many of you raised your hands. So yeah. So therefore, this is a fundamental question to be asked and to be discussed. Does God really exist? But there are so many people already around who believe in God. So the question arises, why do people believe in God? And after due discussion, analysis, it was found there are 4 prominent reasons why people believe in God. I'll share that analysis. Let me know if you agree or not. The very first reason why people believe in God is D. We're going to give you an acronym, and that's the first letter of the acronym, which is D. D refers to fulfill one's desires. How many of you remember in your school days and college days, banging the temple doorbell? Hey, Prabhu, इस बार पास करा दे. अगली बार promise करता हूं, जरूर पढ़ूंगा. How many of you remember? Maybe something else, but have gone and knocked on the door of the temple. Yes or no? But the idea was fulfill the desire. Once desire was fulfilled, we forgot the address of the temple. Yes, we never went. So that's one reason why people lose some. Second, U. Fear of unknown. I had a friend, a long ago, college friend. He was a hardcore atheist. I went on to become an engineer. He went on to become a lawyer. And once he opened his office space, and then he called me up. He said, I would like to invite you. I said, why are you inviting me? I mean, as a friend, you're inviting me or what? He said, no, you are my friend. I agree. But I'm not just want to invite you as a friend. I also want to come and perform some worship here. I said, worship or what? He said, God. I said, when did you become a God believer? And he gave a very profound answer. I mean, I understood, what's a tattva of lawyers? What is the substance of lawyers? And he said, well, dekh yaar Madan, है या नहीं अपन को नहीं पता, बट 25 लाख का मैं ये दुकान बना रहा हूं. 25,000 के इन्वेस्टमेंट में अगर ऊपर वाला शांत हो जाता है, अपना क्या जाता है? So in 25,000 rupees investment, if that man becomes quiet, what is my problem? Let him be happy. So the fear of unknown. I don't know if he exists or not, but in either case, Hare Krishna, somewhere some light is fluctuating. Okay. Some loose connections. Okay, fine, it's coming. So that's second reason. How many of you agree with this kind of have found in the society like that? The third reason why people believe in God. And the third reason is, which is, I believe, quite prominent. We recently had Ganesh festival, and that is social pressure. How many of you agree? There is a tremendous social pressure. In your society, there is a Ganesh festival, maybe there's a Diwali festival, there's a Holi festival, there is a Durga festival. Just being, to be a social being, we have to go. And we go and fold their hands and whatnot, and people think that we are quite a social being like that. And hey, till the time we have space, we can accommodate. There is a chair inside. There's a chair back there. Okay, yeah. We can call them. And the fourth reason is traditions. Let me repeat, if in case, because you got a little distracted. The very first reason is to fulfill desires. Second is fear of unknown. Third, as for social pressure. And the fourth is traditions. Yes? How many of you have heard your parents doing some worship and you asking a question to your parents, what are you doing? And they said, keep quiet. Meri maa bhi aisa karti thi. Sawal nahi puchte. How many of you have come across this situation? We can sit there. Please be say, yeah, it's all visible. You can be seated there. Yeah. So yes, T for traditions, actually. Let me give you an example of the power of tradition. There was a marriage once in South India, and the family in which the marriage was happening, the mother came and complained to the boy that, there is a cat which is running around mandap. This is not appropriate. I want you to take away the cat. The son went around catching the cat. He didn't know what to do with the cat, where to throw. She got a bag, put the cat into the bag, and hanged it with the mandap. The sister who was sitting inside the mandap was watching all this. She got married, had a successful, stable marriage, and then a generation later, which means now the time for her daughter's marriage came. Now her daughter marriage is happening, and suddenly the daughter who has become a mother, she realized the reason for the success of my marriage was the tradition, the cat hanging with the mandap. So now the mother calls the son, find a cat, hang her with the mandap, then my daughter's marriage and your sister's marriage will be successful. And that's how tradition starts. How many of you know, how many of you agree? There's so many traditions, we have no idea of what's its origin, what's its meaning and not, and we just blindly follow it. Yes or no? And because of this all blind following, the current generation who has been asked, who's been taught to ask and raise question about every single tradition that we follow. When the parents fail to give a scientific, which means a logical answer, the today's generation get put off. Yes or no? How many of you have asked the question to your parents, why it is so? And they have replied, I don't know. My mother, my father used to do it. I am doing it. And you are supposed to also do it. And you felt a blind tradition and faith has been pushed onto me, which the today's generation is not going to accept. Yes or no? This is the scenario. So does God really exist? Is a very important question which we need to understand scientifically. Unless we have that, the subject matter makes no sense. So the question that I'm going to raise now, is there any proof for God's existence? Because we are a scientific community today. Everyone believes in science, logic. We need some facts about it. So the question arises, is there a way that we can prove God exists? Is there any proof for God's existence? So that's the first part of our discussion, which we're going to do today. Is there any proof for God's existence? Let's take a look. Proof number one. Creation implies creator. Even to make an artificial flower, one would need, if you want to draw a flower, what all do you need? You need a paper, a canvas, you need a pen or a drawing pen, whatnot. What else do you need to draw a flower? Picture of flower. What else do you need to draw a flower? Colors. What else do you need? Paper. You got the canvas. Thinking. You got the thinking. What does you need? You're forgetting the most important thing. You need a person to paint. Creation cannot happen without creator. Unless you have a person to paint, how can you have a painting? So imagine just to draw a picture of a flower, you need somebody to do it. To think about the fact now that these flowers, multifarious varieties of flower which exist in the creation. Near Badrinath, there is a very famous valley of flowers. I don't know how many of you have gone, where you find incredible flowers there. Who created those flowers? Just to draw a picture, you need a person. Can these flowers of multifarious colors, varieties of colors and fragrance, it is described, perfume, there's a rose-scented perfume. The scientists wanted to make a rose-scented perfume. They spent almost 25 years in research. You can go and look it out on Google. They spent 25 years in research, replicating the fragrance of the rose flower. Finally, one day they succeeded, but they failed. Why? The fragrance that they replicated would not last more than a few seconds. I don't know the current status of the research where they have reached, but the point is it took scientists so long just to replicate the fragrance, and even that fragrance would not last long. And you have a rose flower, the fragrance lasts for a day almost until it gets spoiled. So who created it? Every creation has a creator behind. We cannot deny that fact. Okay. Look at the world around. We have sleek cars. We know that somebody manufactured it, isn't it? As soon as we see a nice car, we look at the brand. They have wonderful sculptures. So we know that somebody must have carved it. So please look at this beautiful creation around. Can this creation have occurred or had occurred on its own? We're going to talk about the scientific claims next session. When we talk about is Vedas or are Vedas or mythology, that time we're going to debunk science. So think about this whole incredible creation. Could have it happened on its own? And if you cannot think, let me show you. Before I show you, let me just see if sound will come to all of you. 1 second. Can we have the sound through this? Screen sharing karke. But for this audience, we need this. Laptop sound. Laptop sound will not go. Okay, zoom mein karenge, wahan se jayega. But why not you still increase the sound here? That'll be good, na? That'll be good quality sound. Okay, so. Let's see if the sound comes now. They will not have it, online audience. Increase the volume, please. Please watch this small video carefully. It's a short video. Look at the wonderful creation. This is only planet Earth. I'm not showing something of the universe right now. Can this immaculate, incredible, profound creation with millions of species, and for every species, for their sustenance and maintenance, everything has been provided in this creation. Could it have occurred on its own? Anything in this world have you seen which has come into existence without a creator, without a founder, without an inventor? How can this creation could then have happened on its own? And this makes the eighth wonder of the world. It's an astonishment when we are taught that there's no creator behind this creation. Just for a human body, it's so intricate. For different parts of the body, you have surgeons, experts. You have eye surgeon. You have orthopedic doctor. There's not even a single doctor who can treat any and every part of your body. So complicated is your own body. Such a complicated body. The he and the she, the male and female comes together, gives birth to a new child. And the mother and father have no idea how the child is being born. Anyone? No one. Can it all happen on its own? Think about it. So, shouldn't this universe have a super intelligent creator too? How many of you think that this creation is a work of great intelligence, even if you don't believe there is a creator, but at least looking at the creation, how many of you agree it should be or must be a work of a great intelligence? Raise your hands. The way it has been articulated, manipulated, and placed out. Even if you don't understand that, at least your own creation is a work of great wonder. If there is an intelligence behind, that means there must be an intelligent person. Intelligence cannot be without the intelligent person. Let me give you an example, a true story of Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton, he thoroughly and totally believed in the existence of God. He didn't knew God is a different story. And his fellow friends were all believer in Big Bang theory like that. You know, the creation happened randomly. So Isaac Newton had created a structure, solar system, nicely designed solar system, and he had kept in his research lab office. So one of his fellow friends, a professor in the same university where Isaac Newton was there, he came, who was a firm believer in Big Bang theory. Randomly, the creation happened. There's no cause. He came to the office of Isaac Newton. As soon as he saw that, imagine, this is a very ordinary phone, but imagine you see a very nice, sleek looking, incredible phone. When you see that kept on the table, how many of you agree the very first question will come in my mind is, of course, the very first question may come is, who owns it? That's a different thing. Okay, let's make it as the first question. But the second question which would come is, who designed it? Is it iPhone, Samsung, Nokia, MI, Oppo, Topo, whatever companies are going around? Yes or no? You know that it cannot have happened on its own, that somebody, Madan Sundar went on to sleep, next morning came, and suddenly the mouse turned into a smartphone. That doesn't happen like that. So this friend of Isaac Newton came into his office and he saw this incredible model of solar system. The man said, as we would say, wow, who designed it? And the Isaac Newton said, oh, let me tell you a short story. Last evening, I came to my office. It was pitch dark. And I accidentally bumped into a locker which had a lot of nut bolts. Because I bumped into a locker which had a lot of nut bolts, the nut bolts fell on the ground. And when the light came, I saw that nut bolts have assembled together into this model of solar system. Big Bang theory? This is nothing but Big Bang theory. And the firm believer in Big Bang theory, that scientist began to laugh. I said, do you think I'm such a fool that I'm going to believe that what you're telling me, that those nut bolts fell on their own is okay, but assembled on its own to give a perfect shape of the solar system? And then Isaac Newton challenged him. He said, oh, you're not willing to believe this small structure of solar system to come into existence on its own, yet you teach that this solar system have happened on its own. And the scientist understood the clue. Think about it. Nothing can happen by his own. That's the first proof. Creation means creator. Proof number 2, law implies lawmaker. We just saw this video of universe in orderliness, isn't it? It was a small video which I saw a space telescope showing all this cosmic elements moving around. Laws imply lawmaker. For example, Hinjawadi Chowk or any place in the city or the state, there are traffic laws. If there is a traffic law, it is but obvious there is somebody governing the traffic laws. All of you probably are working individuals. There are certain laws, rules by which your company governs. Some of you might have a reporting time. And if you don't report in time, some of you may have a half-day fine, etc., etc. Yes, we all have that. Now, when there is a law or rule created, is there a person, which means there must be a lawmaker? Yes or no? Which means there cannot be law without a lawmaker. Is that agreed? This is called as logic. So look at this creation, look at this world around from the micro to the macro level. Micro level means atomic structures, RNA, DNA. We'll talk about RNA and DNA in future sessions. And go to the macro structure, to the solar system. Isn't there a law governing all of these? All of you know the science, you know the answer is yes. That is called as, law of gravitation, then there is a rotating speed for planet Earth, then there's a revolution speed for planet Earth. It's not that planet Earth today decides to move on its own orbit and day after tomorrow jumps onto Jupiter's orbit and kicks out the Jupiter. I'm gonna move around in your orbit. Doesn't happen like this, right? And they all move around sun according to the modern scientific understanding that they all are rotating around sun or revolving around sun. It's not that one day Earth decides, why should I rotate? Sun, you revolve around me. And the Earth stops in its orbit. And now the sun has to revolve. It doesn't happen like this. Why it doesn't happen like this? Because there is a law. If there was no law, it would have happened. For example, the traffic law. Now, because there's a traffic law, so we know that when it is red, we are supposed to stop. But imagine somebody comes from a village, really a village, let's say a tribal man. We can close the door. Imagine a tribal man, and he doesn't know what all this law. Now, when he comes into the city, either it be green, yellow, and red, he probably would not even know the existence of the traffic light. Yes or no? Because he does not know the law exists, the policeman would not fine him. Yes or no? Policeman should fine him. Yes or no? The policeman would fine him because there is a law. I remember personally, I was traveling as a young man in the bus for the first time. I didn't know about it. And I was about to pay for the ticket. My father had told me, but person sitting next to me said, oh, you're just going to the next stop. There's no need to pay for it. I said, okay. And before the next stop would have come in the bus, the ticket checkers, this is Delhi, they got into the bus. And I didn't know about them also. And suddenly they came to me and asked, show me your ticket. I said, which ticket? He said, the bus ticket. I said, I don't know, there's a ticket in the bus. I was a young boy. I said, I didn't know. He said, what do you mean you don't know? You're traveling in a bus. You're supposed to know. It is your parents' responsibility to educate you. You have to give a fine. The bus ticket was 10 rupees. The fine was 50 rupees. I was in utter loss. And they fined me. And I learned my lesson. Next time, pay the tickets. The point is, if there was no law, then everything would be haphazard. From the micro level to the macro level. Micro level means RNA, DNA within our body, which is the building blocks. To this world, it would be completely haphazard. It is not haphazard. Every morning there is a sunrise, every evening there is a sunset. Yes or no? There is an order or no? That orderliness dictates there is a law governing this orderliness. Otherwise, there could not be any order. That's the point about it here. So micro world to the macro world we discussed. The laws of mechanics. I remember asking one school student, who discovered the law of gravity? And students said, Newton. I said, no. Newton did not discover. Newton found it. Well, discovered only, na. He didn't invented it. There's a word discover and there's a word invented. So Newton discovered? Yes. He did not invented it. So I asked the question, not discovered. I asked the question, students, who invented the law of gravity? And they said, Newton. I said, no, he discovered it. If you say Newton invented law of gravity, just like Steve Jobs invented smartphones. Smartphones, touch screen phone did not existed before that. So that's invention. So I said to the boys, I said, if you say Newton invented law of gravity, which means prior to that day, apples never fell on the ground. Apples must be flying in the sky. Because how did Newton begin to think about the law of gravity? Because sitting underneath an apple tree and the apple fell on the ground and he thought, oh, why this fell on the ground? Why didn't it fly up? And that's how he began to think about law of gravity. So can a law exist without a lawmaker? It cannot. For example, we have periodic law. You know, we talk about those in chemistry. Again, it is called as periodic law, not by chance. From micro to the macro world, there is a law. That's the point. The proof number 3, organization implies an organizer. I already spoke about it. To give an example of this briefly, let's say an example of Infosys. Now, there are a certain amount of organization hierarchies. You have project manager, you have delivery manager, you have team leads, you have, those hierarchy goes down the line, isn't it? There is an organization, a clear organization. There is that clear organization. It means there is an organizer. Similarly, we briefly spoke about the organization from the micro to the macro world. There must be somebody, an intelligent being, who's organizing this. Let me give an example. Science says things are happening randomly. If things are happening randomly, why, when two humans come together and unite, why only a human being has to be born? Why has the human being has to be born? Why not a donkey or monkey gets born? Science may claim by whatever genetic code modification they want to do it. If things are happening randomly, why it has to happen? From the beginning of the time until today, there's not even a single case where the humans gave birth to somebody else than expected. Humans give birth to humans, dogs give birth to dogs, monkeys give birth to monkey. Even there is an organization. Even there is an order about it. So organization implies an organizer. Just a short video about this massive creation. This is from NASA. So many cosmic elements are floating in the sky. There's no accident that happens. Planet Earth has been rotating, revolving for so long. And an intelligent human being with eyes wide open still crashes into the tree. Yes or no? That's the biggest irony. An intelligent human being with eyes wide open still crashes into the tree. So many road accidents happen every day. Who is driving planet Earth? Who is driving these cosmic entities around this whole massive universe? I don't know how many of you are used to looking at the sky. This is not the weather still. But once the weather improves, when it is completely clear with the cloud, you go and see, look at it. It's completely starlit. And particularly if you go into the mountainous regions, there you will see more how the sky is starlit. It is far much more populated on the working days as the Hinjawadi Chowk is. If you think Hinjawadi Chowk is populated on the working days between Monday to Friday in the early morning hours between 9 to 11, you probably have to go and explore how much traffic up is there. There's plenty, far much more traffic. And there is no cases of accident. In that traffic, even planet Earth is moving around. How is it possible if there is no organizer? Proof number 4, energy implies an energetic. For example, there are so many bulbs are on here. What is the source of light of this bulb? Okay, it's an electric socket connected to transformer, things like this. Transformer is getting electricity from the powerhouse, what do you call it as hydropower project or something like that. Finally, behind that organizing or maintaining a hydropower project is a human being, yes or no? There's somebody operating that power plant, which is producing electricity, and somebody has, laid down the lines by which the power is getting transformed onto the endpoint. So people say sun, which is a tremendous source of energy. According to the science, in 1996, there was an article published by the magazine called as Nature, very famous magazine in America. And there the scientists did a research and they found out the amount of energy emitted by sun in 1 second in the whole history of mankind have not consumed even a fraction of that much amount of energy which sun emits in 1 second. Now, what is the source of this tremendous potent source of energy? The science tells us nuclear fusion, believed. Now, for nuclear fusion to happen, there has to be a bombardment of neutrons. Agreed? The question is, who did the first bombardment of neutrons? Unless there is a first bombardment of neutron, the fusion cannot start. If you say, no, it started by itself. So why you have to have so many, planned nuclear fusion reactors, structures, and where there's a controlled nuclear fusion reaction and there are so many scientists working on it? If you think it's happening by chance, it's just, again, all logic. So sun, if it is a tremendous source of energy, nuclear fusion is happening. Then my question is, who started the first nuclear fusion reaction? For example, we're talking about if there is an energy, there must be an energetic. Hypothesize, imagine right now you're sitting in your house and you're watching your favorite TV show, cricket match, whatnot. And suddenly the stone goes flying off by your ears and goes and hits your TV screen. Probably you purchased just last week. 55 inches Sony plasma TV. What would be your first reaction? Please tell me. Who would like to answer? What will your first reaction? मतलब गाली गलौज के बाद. That would be the alas, kisne kara ye? Kaun Mike Alal? Now point is, what would be your first point? What? Yes. Who threw this? Yes or no? Now, why the stone cannot fly on his own? If the solar energy, the nuclear fusion can happen on its own, why the stones cannot fly on its own? Because stone has a kinetic energy. There is some energy by which the stone is flying. When you ask a question, who threw it? You know, behind this kinetic energy, there must be energetic. Who propelled or created this kinetic energy? Yes or no? It's against all logic, all odds to say energy is existing on its own. So far, we give you 4 logical evidences of God exists. The first, creation implies creator. Second, law implies lawmaker. Third, organization implies organizer. And the fourth, energy implies energetic. Are you all on the same page so far? Is it making sense? Please raise your hand. Is it making sense? It's good to raise both your hands. So it gets, body gets a little bit stretched and relaxed. Okay, good, good, good. So let me ask a question to all of you. Is it all happening by chance? That's what the science says. Everything happening by chance. Everything happening by chance. There is even a chance theory. And the scientist who gave chance theory by chance won the Nobel Prize. This is the irony of the scientific community. And by chance, when he won the prize, very proudly claimed, I am the originator of this chance theory. अरे चाचा, जब दुनिया में बाय चांस चल रही है तो तेरी थ्योरी भी तो बाय चांस होनी चाहिए. उसके लिए he is giving a credit to himself that I coined this chance theory. I gave the theory behind this like that. So let's quickly look at the world around you. Some are born beautiful, some may not be that good looking. Some are born to rich parents, or some are rich. Some are born to poor parents. Some have a very whitish or fair skin. Some may have a little dark skin. Question is, who decides? Who decides? That's what the science says. That is what we think of. It's all happening randomly. We don't know about it. Well, there are many things in our life that we choose. We have an option to choose our spouse, maybe the type of job, the type of business, the car, the smartphone, the laptop, and many few things, more things. But there are several things in our life that we do not choose. Any thoughts on it? What are those things possibly could be, which we do not choose? Please raise your hands so we go one by one. Yes, please. Parents, none of us chose our parents, and nor your parents chose you. Sorry to tell you the blatant truth. For them, you were a crash landing. You just happened to appear. So all right, aage, theek hai, palna hai. It's a fact of the day. They had no idea if they're going to give birth to a boy or a girl. It's going to be less intelligent, more intelligent. If father is a fan of Sachin Tendulkar and the mother happens to be a fan of, let's say, Aishwarya Rai, well, it would be the other way around generally. The father may be a fan of Aishwarya Rai and mother could be a fan of Sachin Tendulkar. So both of them might be expecting my son or daughter who's born should be like Sachin Tendulkar, Aishwarya Rai. But वो बाद में आके ठेंगा ही निकलता है. What is the creation? We don't know. So that's the correct thing. We don't choose our parents, nor the parents choose us. What else we don't choose? Yes. The face cut. We haven't chosen our face cut. We are born with it. What else we don't choose? What else we don't choose? The color of the skin we don't choose. What else we don't choose? Financial state, no, you have that. That's your intelligence. Your intelligence is not, some have high IQ, some have low IQ. So there are several things, our parents, our beauty, face color, intelligence, etc., which we do not choose. So question arises, who chooses? How this thing has been given to us? It is not randomly. It is not by chance. There is nothing by chance. This chance theory has created just to keep us confused, just to take shelter of victimhood. According to Vedic science, the victimhood does not exist. The word victim does not exist. There is nobody a victim. If there is a word, that is culprit. If somebody is a culprit, not a victim. Nobody is a victim. When you say a victim, you say, I am been helplessly put into the situation. I don't know why things are going on like this with me. How many of you have thought why bad things happen to good people? How many of you have thought like this? Why bad things happen to good people? Yes or no? Everyone would have thought. But no, it's not like that. And I can bet you, you would have never thought why good things happen to bad people. You would have thought that also when it happens to others, not for yourself like that way. So we choose many things in life, but we don't choose many things also. So who decides? Please think and respond honestly. Have you seen a complicated machine which has come by chance and has no purpose? Any machine, anything which has come on its own, zoop, and has no purpose. Such thing only happens in sci-fi movies, right? Suddenly the alien will pop up somewhere or something will happen. It only happens in movies and fiction stories and novels. In real life, any one of you has any example, go and search on Google also. Anything has come by chance and has no purpose. The answer is no. If the answer is no, which means there is a creator behind every creation and everything has its purpose. So there is a creator. We logically at least come to a conclusion. There is a creator behind this creation. That creator can be addressed as word God. Now, everything has a purpose. I'm not going to answer this question now. I'm going to take this answer in the future session. The question arises, what is the purpose of my life? Why have I been born to this world? What is the purpose that I'm supposed to fulfill? Yes or no? For example, those days when they were keypad mobiles. How many of you agree those days were simple, happier days? People could spend time with each other when there was a keypad mobiles. Yes? And UK, there is a reverse smartphone movement is going on, where there's a lobby of people, there is an activism of throwing away smartphone. They said smartphone have destroyed life. And now people are going through, you have this kind of rehabilitation center. They're trying to go through rehabilitation center where, they use keypad mobile for a week, then for 2 weeks, then a month and 6 months. And after finishing off the 3 to 6 months course, and then they are, how do you feel? You can go and look into it. It's all over internet. They say, we have never felt as free as we are experiencing now. We realize now the smartphone actually held us in a captivity. The moment it beeps, how many have that experience? You're in a public place, suddenly the phone beeps. हो सकता है किसी और का हमारा हाथ चला जाता है, अरे किसने याद किया? Agreed 100%. We are so much disturbed. That's the reason I said made a comment in the beginning. Please switch off your phone and or put in silent mode. Trust me, the world is not going to end. But we are in such a hurry. If I don't pick up the phone, oy, dunya barbad ho jayegi. This is called as captivity. And this was their comment. The people who went through this reverse smartphone kind of rehabilitation, they said that. So what was the point? Came back. So I was making a point that everything has its purpose. So what is our purpose? I was talking about what is the purpose of my life? There I was giving an example as a smartphone. For example, when they were keypad mobile, the purpose of phone was very clear. Yes or no? The purpose of the phone was twofold: calling and texting. Now, if I ask you what is the purpose of phone, what will you answer? You're confused? Calling karu, texting karu, messaging karu, emailing karu, banking karu, kya karu? Is confused. Similarly about us, we are totally confused. What is the purpose of my life? Everyone is looking around thinking that maybe if I do this, I'll be happy. And that's what they call as rat race. All of you probably would have heard of this. You see people running around something and they get some success. They think, oh, maybe this is meant for me also. You run around and after a while you realize, oh, those who were running there, nobody's there now. Only I'm running now. Everyone has disappeared from that rat race. So we'll discuss this point also in one of the sessions. Now moving forward to the next point. God exists. Scientifically, we have given you 4 evidences, but there are certain challenges to the existence of God. When you talk about the existence of God, people will raise 2 questions, 2 fundamental questions. The first question, can you show me God? पहले दिखाओ, फिर विश्वास करूंगा. You show me. And the second is, who created God? And the second challenge is, who created God? Fair enough question. You might have addressed, you might have been asked, or you might even have this question in your mind. If everyone has a cause, then who is the cause of God's creation? And second, can you show me? As I say, seeing is believing. So let's take a look at the first challenge. Can you show me God? Now, when people say, can you show me God? I have a simple counter question to them. What can you really see? What can you really see? If the lights are not there, it is dark, you cannot even see your own hands. Our senses have very limited perception ability. With this limited sense perception ability, if you demand to perceive everything, it doesn't make sense. For example, if we have a bucket which has a capacity of, let's say, 500, let's say capacity of 1 liter water only. If the capacity of the bucket to hold water is only 1 liter, no, bucket cannot be 1 liter, let's say 10 liters. If the capacity of the bucket to hold water is 10 liter, you cannot put more than 10 liters. You keep the tap on for the whole day, it can only hold 10 liters only, nothing more. So we have, for each of the senses, we have our parameters or boundaries defined. For like example, ears. Our hearing can only happen between 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Less than 20 hertz, we cannot hear. Above 20,000 hertz, we cannot hear. You cannot change it. You cannot work with it. So what can we really see? That's the first question. Now, how do we answer this question? So first, I'm going to present two principles here. The very first principle is of cause and effect. For example, I did my bachelor's, even master's in electronics and computer engineering. So we study at length about electronics. 4 years, bachelor's, 2 years of struggle in master's. 6 years of my life went into struggle to become a master graduate in electronics engineering. And trust me, 6 साल गवाए, कभी इलेक्ट्रॉन को देखा नहीं. 6 years I spent. I did not even once saw electron. Anyone has seen electron? You cannot see electron. There's no question of it. How electron was discovered? Cathode ray, right? CRT, cathode ray tube, right? The reflection in that CRT is said to be electron. This is called as faith. On this blind faith, I spent my 6 years. This is called as science. So cause and effect. Here, reflection is an effect. Therefore, they determine the cause must be what they call as electron. Getting the point? We cannot perceive from our eyes, but we saw something. Similarly, imagine you're a young school-going boy and a girl. You come back your home and your father has a car, and you know your father's car, and of course the car key and all that. And your father's supposed to be in office, but when you come back home, let's say Thursday afternoon, your school have ended early, you come back by, let's say, noon, and on the dining table in your house, you see your father's car key. When you see your father's car key, what will the first thing will come to your mind? Is father at home? How come my father's car key is here? You have not seen your father. You have probably not seen the car. What you saw? The car key. As soon as you saw the car key, immediately what came in your mind? Where is my father? Why? Because you knew the connection between the key and the father. This is called as cause and effect. The effect is the key, and we know the cause means who is the owner of the car key? My father. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada was walking on a beach in San Francisco one early morning, and there was a beautiful sunrise happening. Srila Prabhupada, one of the disciples, said, Prabhupada, look, what a beautiful sunrise. And Srila Prabhupada immediately retorted, if the painting is so beautiful, how much beautiful must be the painter? I hope you got the point. That's the meaning of cause and effect. For example, we have a satellite. That's an effect. What is the cause? The brains of many scientists, isn't it? Similarly, there is a satellite called as Earth. Has a mass of 6 into 10 times 21 metric tons. Its speed around the sun is almost 1 lakh kilometers per hour. And its revolving speed is 60 times greater than that of a shot bullet. None of us have ever experienced. When we are driving 60 kilometers per hour of a bike, When we are driving our four-wheeler and the windows are open at 70 or 80 kilometers per hour, then we very much experience. And the earth is revolving at 60 times of that of a short bullet speed. None of us have any idea of it. These are scientific figures. Why? There's a law of gravity balancing it out. So, for a satellite which is rotating around Earth, there are so many scientists controlling it. My question is, for this cosmic entity, is also a satellite. Satellite means space entity. Who is the brain behind this planet Earth? And for that reason, Sun. For that reason, Moon, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, etc., etc. So, who is in the control? Who is in control of this planet Earth or different cosmic entities? NASA, is it? That's a base-based technology within the world. Maybe NASA controlling it. Or if not, is there a God in control of things? Possibility? Even if you don't believe God exists, to some extent, how many of you at least willing to believe, agree to this point? Well, if NASA cannot be, NASA is the front runner in the space technology. If they're not in control of things, then potentially there could be some far much more intelligent being who we call as the God in control of things. Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay. So, cause and effect principle. We have not seen, but what we have seen, the planet Earth is moving, rotating, revolving. Based on the effect, we can determine there must be an intelligent cause behind it. You getting the cause and effect principle? Can you show me God? Principle number 2. Unseen is proven by the seen. The example of electron that I gave before. The example of father's car key. You didn't see the father, but you saw the car key. The unseen, which is father, is proven by the seen. And I gave you an example of Srila Prabhupada walking on a beach. He saw the sunshine. The devotee saw sunshine. Prabhupada saw Krishna behind the sunshine. Unseen is proven by the seen. That's the point. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, please repeat after me. Mataha parataram nanyat kenchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre mani gana iva. For example, all of you probably can see there is a neck beads. I'm wearing a kantimala. Now, this kantimala is around my neck, hanging in a particular order because it is tied across a fine thread. Now, from a distance, you can probably see the beads, but not the thread. Yes or no? But because it is tied around, any intelligent person would say that is not beads hanging in the air. There is a fine thread behind it. Yes or no? That is what means by cause and effect, or unseen proven by the seen. And this is the evidence from Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Mataha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. Arjuna, I am the cause of all causes. There is no other cause greater than I. Mai sarvam idam potam sutre manigana. You know, if you take a pearl necklace, I am like a fine fiber tying the pearl necklace together. I am not visible to the mundane eyes, but from the effect, you should understand the cause. And this is the evidence Lord Shri Krishna gives like this. A modern day dilemma. We have a mic here. I would like somebody to read out. Let's pass it to the mother. There is a conversation between male and female. Any mother would like to read it? You can take the mic. I'll act as a he counterpart and somebody can act as a she counterpart here. Okay. Chandani, she can do that. Okay. Well, anyone can read out for that reason. Go ahead. Suchana. Hare Krishna. Yes. You read your she part.
She said, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen atom make water.
There's a conversation between two friends. Will not say she said, he said. The rule is clear. Atoms? Give me a break. These little things you can't even see. You put a few together and out comes water. You expect me to believe that when you mix hydrogen and oxygen, that will give you water? I can't believe it.
It's a fact. 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen make water.
I will believe it when I see it. Prove it to me.
All right.
You are crazy. I know you cannot prove it.
I can prove it to you. Just come into my laboratory and do the experiment. The first step is to look in this.
Oh, yeah, right. Good one. The laboratory. You want me to go into your laboratory and do your experiment your way? That is called as brainwashing.
No, if you will just take a look in this microscope.
I am not going to do any of your crazy rituals. What are you trying to do? Convert me? You people are nuts. You believe all these crazy things that you mix two molecules of hydrogen, one with oxygen, you'll get water. Two hydrogens and one oxygen make water. Give me a break.
I can show you if you will look in this microscope.
I will never follow your rules. You cannot prove anything to me. This is what is a modern dilemma. This is how what we're giving an example of a laboratory here. We know that hydrogen and oxygen combines together gives you water. But the person is not willing. He is not willing to go through that research effort, which has been told by the friend. I'll give you an evidence. He said, no, I will not. I know you're brainwashing. So people like this have made their mind. There cannot be any higher power. There cannot be. And whatever reasons you want to give it, they keep on arguing against it. And then when you give them evidence, you're brainwashing me. Like this. For such people, they are born nuts. You can't do much about it. The nut is so tight, the screwdriver will break. The nut will not open. What can you do when somebody is determined? He doesn't want to listen. Like what's that? I will never follow your rules and you cannot prove anything to me. What do you mean? So that was the first question about can you show me God? The second challenge, who created God? किसने बनाया भगवान को? Now, why we raise this question, who created God? The reason, the background behind this question, who created God, is because in this creation, we have always seen there is always a cause behind some creation. For example, for our cause, there is our parents. For our parents, there are our grandparents. For the grandparents, the great-grandparents, and so on, so on, so on. Our all experience of this world proves us or teaches us that there is always somebody above you. Therefore, we come up with this question when we have to argue about the existence of God. Who created God? And Lord Shri Krishna, as we already quoted, Mataha Paratam Nanyat Kinchidasi Dhananjaya. Kinchidasi, there is no other cause than I. The word God is a biblical word. Let's use Bhagavan. This is a Sanskrit word. Bhagavan, the word Bhagavan in Sanskrit itself means one who does not have a cause, but in fact is a cause of all causes. You cannot call somebody Bhagavan and then say the person has a cause. That's a violation of the rule that defines word Bhagavan. To give you an example, an analogy. Let's take a case of a movie in a theater. Imagine you're watching a movie in a theater. There is a hero, heroine, villain, melodrama, etc., etc. There is a one person who is present all through the movie, but is not present in the movie also. And that one person is director. Yes, he directed the whole movie. He's present through the movie, but you cannot perceive the presence. But you cannot perceive the presence of that director. Yes or no? Similarly, there is this creation. There are role plays of different kinds are going on. You know, Mata Paratam, Krishna already said, I am the cause. He's there before the creation. He's present through the creation. He's present after the creation. But we as an audience cannot see. When you go into the theater, you only see the actor and actresses. You don't understand who is the director for it. Let me give you a sample example. Another example. Just like a director is independent of his movie, similarly, Lord is independent of his creation. Now, we're talking about who is the cause of God. Take an example of a bogie in a train. Take an example of a bogie in a train. Imagine you're sitting in a fifth bogie and there's a young child along with you. And somebody asks to you, along with that young child, oh, how this bogie is being pushed? The young child may laugh, haha, what a silly question. The fourth bogie is pulling the fifth bogie. Is it right or wrong? Right or wrong? Right or wrong? It's right, but not fully right. fourth bogey is only pulling, na? Abhi to fifth move kar raha hai bhai. Then somebody who's a little grown up, then that child may say, "Arey nahi nahi, kya mazak kar raha hai?" The first bogey is pulling all the bogeys. Is he right? Right, but not fully right. And then the father or mother says, "Beta, both of you are right, but not completely right." Who is pulling this train? Engine. Who is pulling the engine? Engine. I mean, driver, okay. You're becoming over smart now. You're getting to the essence of the subject matter. There is a person behind every creation. Okay, that's okay. This is the analogy. This is analogy. Okay, don't break the analogy. So, how is the engine? Who's driving the engine? The engine. Engine is producing its energy and carrying the weight. So there are three causes for the fifth bogey to be pulled. There's an immediate cause, fourth bogey, right? Which is correct. It's not wrong. There's a remote cause. What is the remote cause? The first bogey. And there is an ultimate cause. What is ultimate cause? Engine, which none of us sitting in the fifth bogey can see. But an intelligent person knows there is an ultimate cause. Mataha paratram na anyat kinchid asti dhananjaya. I am that ultimate cause. Aham sarvasya prabho mataha sarvam pravartate. Everything in this world and beyond this world have come from me. I am that cause. That's what Krishna says. Lord is an ultimate cause. So, can you show me God? Cause and effect. Unseen is proven by the seen. We talked about who created God. We talked about Lord is independent, example of a director and a movie. And third, Lord is an ultimate cause, example of a bogey. A brief recap, a quick recap of what we have discussed so far. So, the very first subject matter we discussed so far was why people believe in God. What were the 4 reasons? What was that acronym? Anyone remembers the acronym? Quick. DUST. What is D stands for? Desires. U, unknown. S, social pressure. T, traditions. Why people believe in God. Is there any scientific proof of Lord's existence? Yes or no? Yes or no? कोई समझ नहीं आ रहा. हाथ खड़ा करो. आवाज गले से नहीं. How many of you say there is a scientific proof of Lord's existence? Yes or no? Oh, sorry, raise your hand. Okay. What is the first proof? Creation implies creator. Second, law implies lawmaker. Third, organization implies organizer. Fourth, energy implies energetics. So we saw the 4 evidences for any scientific proof of Lord's existence. There are many, but I just summarized the 4. Is it all happening by chance? Yes or no? Everything is happening in an order. There's an orderliness. And finally, the 4th point was the challenges. Who created God? And can you show me God? Now moving to the next subject matter. All right, sir, I agree. Okay, let me ask this question now. How many of you think you have a better understanding of the subject matter of God now? A little more scientific understanding, what we have discussed so far. Raise your hands. I'm not saying you have a complete understanding, but you have some better understanding before we started the session. Please raise your hand. Just let's see that. Oh, we have. Yeah, some understanding. You have some understanding now. I just want to see how much you have. You have some, you agree with the some understanding you've got. Yes or no? Raise your hands. Okay. But we'll all agree that we have not yet got a perfect knowledge. We have got some evidences, something which convinces us at least कोई तो है. कहने को मूवी में आसान होता है, रिश्ते में तुम्हारे बाप लगते नाम है शहंशाह. कहने में ठीक है, शहंशाह ऊपर बैठा है ना? So at least some idea about शहंशाह we got. So how to gain a perfect knowledge about God? Imagine, hypothetically again, outside your house, there is a very old building. Imagine that to be 100 years old. And you want to find out who is the owner of this building. You may ask your parents may not know, you may ask your grandparents, you may ask people around and somebody may tell you because it's 100-year-old, right? Imagine if something, that building is 500 years old. How will you figure it out? Ram Janmabhoomi. Kiski thi? Ram ki thi? Ya mosque walo ki thi? That's an almost 500-year-old issue, right? Less than 500-year-old issue. How do you figure it out? 30 plus years it took for the case to get it resolved, whatnot. Okay, there could be some evidences here and there. We'll find out. What if that building happens to be 1,000-year-old? Now, how would you find out who is the owner of that building? You may, with that science, may get to know something, but still to know who is the owner of that building is close to impossible. You may get to know this belongs to particular society or samaj, but in that samaj, who possibly was the owner is still a challenge. We're asking who is the owner? Okay, let's say we're still able to figure out 1,000-year-old. What if something is 50,000 years old? How many of you think now finding out the owner, the chances is almost close to nil? Owner. Now tell me, how then can we, by our scientific research, determine who is the creator of this universe? Yes or no? Which is billions and trillions of years old. How can we determine who is the creator of this universe? Our research fails, our science fails. Science at max can tell you what is the age. And then hypothesis assumptions can come to a point that probably it was located in this region. And we can make a fair enough assumption that probably it belonged to this civilization which existed so many years ago. Who is the owner? Nobody can figure it out. Yes. So how science can talk on the subject matter of who created universe? They don't have any scientific tools to talk about it. And they teach us about Big Bang theory, Darwin's theory, and what he calls chance theory. Big Bang theory is about how different species came into existence. Sorry, how did this creation came into existence? Darwin's theory is about how different species came into existence. Chance theory is about how life originated. How can they? They don't have any tools. But there's so much research, so much publication they do. How many of you remember, there used to be Chacha Chaudhary comic book? All these science journals are nothing but Chacha Chaudhary versions. Something they keep on blabbering about creation, kisne banaya, hame kisne banaya, species ko kisne banaya. They don't have any tools. So my question here to all of you, how do we get knowledge of the event that occurred or of a person that existed long beyond in terms of time and place? How do we get the knowledge? The three ways of acquiring knowledge: Pratyaksha, Anuman, and Shabda. These are the three ways. That's it. There is nothing else. Aksha means eyes. Pratyaksha, seeing is believing. So Pratyaksha Praman. Anuman Praman, I think like this. I believe like this. We are very much familiar with this terminology statement, right? I think like this. I think it can be like this. So that is Anuman Praman. And third is Shabda Praman. Shabda Praman means hearing. To hear from somebody, and then we get to know what is an evidence about it. Let's briefly do a quick analysis of this. Pratyaksha Praman is a direct sense perception. Is seeing believing. How many of times have you had an experience that you have got hallucinated? For example, how many of you have seen mirage? Right? You're driving on a road and it looks like on a sunny day there is a water, but no, it's a mirage. We all have that. And we all are very much aware that we get cheated by our eyes. So seeing is believing is not always correct. Are you getting the point? Is seeing believing is not always correct. Why sense perceptions are not always correct? The reason is the Vedic Shastra says every living entity born in this creation has 4 defects. There were 4 reasons why people believe in God. There are 4 logical evidences we gave, and now we are giving 4 reasons why we cannot have perfect sense perception. The first, tendency to commit mistakes. Yes or no? Everyone commits mistakes. The mother cooking in the kitchen sometimes may forget to add sufficient salt. I remember when I was studying in America, I had a room partner. He was a little too transcendental. So one day he will cook, other day I will cook. And this particular day, it was his turn to cook. And our menu was standard. Morning menu means khichdi. And he cooked such a special khichdi that I screamed at the top of my voice after eating it. And he cooked khichdi, he offered to the Lordship, and he came and offered me, Prabhu, prasadam is ready. I said, okay, prasadam is ready. Okay, let's eat. And for the first time in my life, I ate sweet khichdi. I said, for God's sake, why did you add sugar in place of salt? And very coolly he said, what to do? There was no salt. So just to give some taste, I had to add something. So I added sugar. मैंने कहा मैं pickle कैसा खा लेता, sugar क्यों डाली? After sugar, you cannot even eat with pickle. So tendency to, I'm just making one example. The scientists commit mistakes, the doctors commit mistakes, and some of them are really prone to committing mistakes because there are some bugs connected to it, They intentionally also commit mistakes. Not. Now, COVID crisis is coming from some mistakes, isn't it? They may say how much they want to do propaganda that it got transferred from animals. Which was the last disease that got transferred from animals? Corona, that's what COVID, right? So that's what you were saying, that it got transferred. But anyways, we're not going to do that. So tendency to commit. Second, to be illusioned. To be illusioned, to consider right to be wrong, wrong to be right. We all have that. The science, everyone gets treated like that. Third, imperfect senses. For example, you remember that particular exercise, sometimes they do it. Let's say if I pass a message to Bikramjit. Bikramjit passed the message to Chandni. Chandni passed the message to somebody else. And after 10 people, the message comes back to me. It appears as if an entirely new message. Yes or no? There is always a loss of information. What I meant to say is imperfect senses. Our hearing is limited. Our seeing is limited. Our sense perception. For example, it is mentioned, if after sour food, if you eat orange, lemon, I believe, it tastes sweet. And it's vice versa. Somebody aware of this Ayurvedic fact? Like that things happen like that. And the fourth is the cheating propensity, which means the very common thing is to lie. Our life cannot happen without a lie a day. Apple a day makes you healthy. Lie a day keeps you alive. That's the world we live in today, isn't it? So a tendency to commit mistakes. I remember long ago, I had got a message. It was probably during college days. And the message was, it was kind of a joke, but interesting message. Tendency to commit mistake. So, लड़की ने मैसेज लिखा, हमारी शादी नहीं हो सकती. And she sent it ahead. From the other end, response came. Why? Our shadi is due in 2 days. Why our shadi cannot happen? And then the message came from the girl. Sorry, गलती से आपको भेज दिया. Just give me one example. Okay, I mean, I'm just giving a very synopsis here. This is subject in detail, but we have less time. So tendency to commit mistakes, widely incorrect accounts in research, like cricket game, you have third umpire and whatnot. Even third umpire makes a mistake and whatnot. Y2K fiasco 2000, I believe. 1999 to 2000 was supposed to be technological collapse. Value of Hubble constant, God knows it's a Hubble constant, Hubble variable. Supposed to be a Hubble constant, but value keeps changing every year like that. And then tendency to be illusion. If you carefully watch this picture, how many of you see the picture moving? Yes, but it's actually a stationary picture. Tendency to be illusion. Third, imperfect senses. Our eyes are blind outside the range of 400 to 700 millimicrons. Our ears are deaf like that. For example, if you blow a dog whistle, all the dogs in our neighborhood will come running to us, but we cannot hear the sound of that whistle because it's beyond this frequency range. Hare Krishna. Then imperfect senses. Informed and uninformed scientist may boast. He may say, what he may say, that even if we photograph, uninformed scientists may say, well, okay, I agree, my senses are imperfect, but I will create instruments which are perfect and I'll capture perfect images. So Nobel Prize winning physicist Eugen Wigner points out, yes, it's possible. Let's hypothesize that you create a perfect equipment, but ultimately information would be processed by imperfect senses. So output can never be perfect. Agreed? So science to claim that they can figure out some things perfectly is not possible because of these 4 defects. And the 4th defect, cheating propensity. The Darwin's theory, the Second World War is largely held responsible for Darwin's theory. Both Hitler and Mussolini from Italy, particularly Mussolini, was a very strong believer that our ancestors were apes. So our ancestors were apes. There is no meaning of any culture and civilization. So I comes from animal, I can act the way I want to act. And that is what affected Hitler. And therefore, they went on to do that, large scale massacre of Jews and what all happened during Second World War. So just to prove this 17th century theory or 18th century theory to the fact that yes, Darwin's theory is a fact, there was a big fraud called as a Piltdown man fraud. What was that fraud? There was a debate. If you say we have come from apes, so there should be a transitional figure, half ape, half human, because it's a process of ongoing conversion. So where is that figure? We should find out that figure. If there is a figure, then it is proven that Darwin was correct. If a figure can be identified and located, which is half man and half monkey, then which means our ancestors were monkeys. This is called as Piltdown man fraud. In 1912, they created a made-up structure, and they said we have found an artifact as an archaeological evidence. This is something you can go and search on Google itself. And in 1953, when that research was again reviewed, they found out it was man-made. It was not naturally found. 1912 to 53, which means good 41 years, they lied to the people that your ancestors were monkeys. Those who believe, all the best, but mine were not. So, Anuman Praman, that is problemist Pratiksha Praman. 4 defects. First, to commit mistakes. Second, imperfect senses. Third is, what is that? No, second is illusion. S for imperfect senses and C for cheating propensity. These are the 4 defects. That's about Pratyaksha. So Pratyaksha, I'm not saying everything is wrong, but we cannot consider everything to be correct because of these 4 defects. And the second Praman, Anuman Praman, maybe like this, maybe like that. And I'll give you one example of Darwin's theory, and then we'll conclude after this presentation about Anuman Praman. Now, what is this Anuman Praman? There was this interesting example of a scientific conference once happening in New York. During a tea break, all the scientists came out. Largely, they were doctors. There was a neuroscientist, there was a dermatologist, there's an orthopedic and others. They were together. 4 or 5 doctors were standing together having a cup of tea. And somewhere across the distance, they saw a man limping, struggling to walk. Everyone began to, I think, he is walking because his tooth is paining, dentist said. Neuroscientist said his neurons have got some defect. Orthopedic said looks like he probably has got a knee injury or some toe injury. Skin doctor said maybe his skin has got rashes. Everyone said their thinking. And finally, all of them didn't came to conclusion. They said, okay, everyone is saying different things. Why don't we go and ask this person, why is he limping? All the doctors came to that person. Sir, why are you limping? And he was surprised. Are juta toot gaya. Are juta toot gaya, isliye nahi chal pa raha hu main. And you made a theories out of it. That is what means by Anuman Praman. I'll let me give you an example. Charles Darwin, I'll have a dedicated session to glorify. He deserves a lot of glorification. We'll glorify him in the future session, considering the value of the time. I'll not go in much in detail. We'll just give an introduction to his glorification. In one of his letters to A. Wallace, 1857, Darwin wrote, we have a mic? Somebody can read it out? Okay, go ahead.
I am a firm believer that without speculation, there is no good and original observation. After 5 years' work, I allowed myself to speculate on the subject and drew up some short notes. These I enlarged in 1844 into a sketch of the conclusions, which seemed to me probable.
Where in this original species, which is a foundation paper of this Darwin theory, where you find science here? I allowed myself to speculate. I speculated on the subject. Based on the speculations, I drew some conclusions, and those conclusions also seems probable. This is science. This is blind faith, which is being taught to us from our childhood. Darwin's theory. How the bear evolved into a monstrous whale? Rather than I read, I say, I would like you to read for yourself what he writes, Darwin's write in his original species paper, page number 184. And this is what he writes. Please read out.
North America, the black bear was seen swimming for hours with wide open mouth, thus catching like a whale insects in water. Even in so extreme a case as this, if the supply of insects were constant and if better adapted competitors did not already exist in the country, I can see no difficulty in a race of bears by natural selection more and more aquatic in their structure and habits, with larger and larger mouths, till a creature was produced as monstrous as a whale. Origin of species.
How did the whale got created from the bears? If there was a constant supply of insects and there was no other competitor for those insects except for the bears, and the bears for a good amount of period of time kept their mouth wide open, and they kept floating in the ocean with their mouth wide open for years altogether, then it is my fair enough assumption, when there is no other competitor for the insects and they're being given a constant supply of insects with their mouth wide open, assumption, gradually they became the monstrous whales. Does he deserve a round of applause? Please give him a round of applause. शर्मा मत, डार्विन ऊपर देख रहा होगा क्या चल रहा है, ऊपर नहीं किसी पेड़ पे टंगा होगा वो पूछ के बल पर. So this is what he's been taught, and this is what is being taught to us and to your kids. Where did the humans came into existence? And that's how they came with this whole idea of Stone Age era. The British started. We'll discuss that in the second section next time. Moving forward, the record of the rocks. What is an evidence says? We were having archaeological evidences. Let's see what it is said. The Darwin taught us man came from the monkeys, but the age of rock strata, this is years, it shows and it proves from 40,000 years to 100,000 years, 4 lakh years to 1 million, up to 2 million years ago, the evidence they had found, the apes and humans have coexisted. This is scientific data. There is no time in the history they have found when only apes existed, but not humans. Up to 2 million years ago, they have a data. So when it was only in the dream of Darwin's, the monkeys evolved into humans and the deers evolved into whales like that. Human beings and apes simultaneously existed for millions of years. The story of 6 blind men and the elephant. Imagine there are 6 blind men and they're touching different parts of the elephant. What possibly they could describe about the elephant? Somebody who's touching the trunk would say a wall. Somebody who's touching onto the tail of the elephant may say it's a rope. Somebody who's holding onto the feet may say it's a trunk of a tree. Somebody who's holding onto the what do you call as सींग को क्या कहते हैं? Tusk may say like it's an arrow. Somebody who's holding onto the ears of elephant may say it's like a big fan. Yes or no? So how does 6 blind men get to know what is this? Only somebody who is not blind, somebody who has the ability to see. Hare Krishna. Where is this background noise coming? Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe it can be taken for a short walk. Otherwise, we'll lose our attention here. So if a person who has eyes, he comes and tells, only then the 6 blind men can be properly educated. That's the problem with Anuman. How the 6 blind men can be educated? Through Shabda Praman, yes? Not by their hypothesis. And that's the point. So how do we acquire knowledge? There are 3 things: Pratyaksha, Anuman, and Shabda. Pratyaksha Praman is limited because of 4 defects: imperfect senses, illusions, we commit mistakes, and cheat others. And Anuman, again, I'm not saying it's always wrong, but it is not the absolute source of knowledge. What remains is a Shabda Praman. What is Shabda Praman? That we'll discuss next week. That Shabda Praman is said to be Vedic scriptures. Why Shabda Praman is the best means of acquiring knowledge. Before we finish, I'd like to show you a small video. It is dangerous to operate a machine with a half knowledge. And here's an example for all of you. Maybe a little light joke here, but has a very important lesson. That is the situation of a modern day man. Let me give you an example. Imagine you buy a washing machine, but you don't know what washing machine is all about. You only know of dishwasher. So you understand where I'm going to. You take your dishes and put into the washing machine. How many of you agree there is going to be a loud khadak, khadak, khadak sound? Yes? And how many of you agree our head is too much filled with anxiety today? Because we do not know how to use our life. We are using a washing machine as a dishwasher, therefore the washing machine makes that khadak, khadak, cut sound non-stop. Similarly, because we don't know what's the purpose of life, we're just trying to live in a certain way, following, imitating somebody's example, copying something. Despite having all the possessions, which we have far greater than our parents probably, have the comforts of life today. Yet there is so much khadak non-stop goes, even to an extent people cannot sleep in the night. So many people today in the middle of the night, they walk up or wake up and they walk around restlessly because they're so much filled with anxiety that they cannot sleep. We know such people, yes or no? Which means we do not know how to use this machine. We are misusing this machine, or we are using this machine with a half knowledge. So it is dangerous to operate a machine with a half knowledge. But if somebody has to give you a manual of washing machine, and if you read the manual, then you understand it is meant to be a washing machine, not dish machine or dishwasher. Similarly, for this life, how to be lived, that manual act as a Shabda Praman. The founder of that washing machine have written how this machine have to be used. Similarly, the founder of this creation have given manuals in the form of Vedic scripture, and the foremost of that is Bhagavad Gita. How the life has to be lived is defined in Bhagavad Gita. And you can see those who read Bhagavad Gita, who live by the principles of Bhagavad Gita, you'll always find the hot weather or the cold weather, they still seems to be happy about life. But how much ever you're able to control the weather because of AC and whatnot, even if you have perfect situations around, environment around, if your mind is disturbed, you'll be still unhappy. Therefore, the right way of finding knowledge is Shabda Praman. And what is a Shabda Praman? Which means our Vedas mythology. Because that's why you go anywhere, they say Vedas are mythology. You go to Tirupati, you purchase any book of TTD, they say our mythology talks about Tirupati Balaji. Our mythology talks about why have you built a temple of Balaji? You should build a temple of Hulk, Iron Man, a Bahubali. Yes or no? They're fiction, na? But mythology is fiction. This is so bizarre. I don't know. I'm so curious to know from where this mythology term came. Of course, I know Britishers did it, but how did it become a part of a culture that everyone has to call it mythology? You call it mythology and then stop worshipping. If you're worshipping despite calling it mythology, then there is no other greater fool than you, which means you're worshipping somebody who you consider to be a fiction, or about whom the information has been given in a fiction book. It's just like you make a temple of Harry Potter. It doesn't make sense. So why is our Vedas mythology would be a second part of discussion there. We'll talk about Shabda Praman. So to conclude for today, the second part of discussion that we had 4 points there to discuss. How to gain perfect knowledge about God. So I give an example of old building. So this creation is the oldest of all, and we cannot find out by our means. There are 3 ways of acquiring knowledge. The first, Pratyaksha. Second, and third, Shabda Praman. What are the 4 defects in Pratyaksha Praman? Mistakes, illusion, imperfect senses, cheating propensity. And we also understood the limitation with current method of acquiring knowledge, which is Pratyaksha and Anuman Praman. With that, we pause here for today. We'll continue this discussion next week. And the next week, the topic would be, are Vedic scriptures mythology or original science? And I'll give you evidences at my end, and I'll leave it on to you to agree or disagree. With this, we conclude our discussion here for today. Any questions, any clarifications from today's topic? We'll give you the PPT. If you're on the group, WhatsApp group, we'll share the PPT. Generally, I function through our website, but because there were a lot of activities going on, I couldn't get this course ready on the website. We'll share this thing on the WhatsApp group. I hope all of you are part of the WhatsApp group. Gita Nutshell, something is a WhatsApp group. So there, we'll share the PPT by the end of the day. Any questions from any of the online audience? This is already uploaded in YouTube. This is going live on YouTube. It's already there for you to review. Find places to debate. Hey, I don't agree with this. I'm totally ready, fine with debates. Find out and we'll talk about it, but at the end of the session, not before. The session would not happen. Okay. So fine. So if you don't have a question, let me ask a question to all of you. With that, we conclude. How many of you think, I'm just asking, think that you have little better understanding, or your mind is a little more open to accept the concept of God now? How many of you agree with that? You're in a more stable condition, open condition to accept the concept of God. I have not proven the concept of God yet. I have just laid the foundation with whatever logical thing. So can we just have a raise of hand just to see that, at least this basic thing. Now, one good thing about our community is, hod kehte hain. So we kind of, we're a little shy. If others do it, we raise your hand. So I don't know if this is just like, everyone raised their head. So let me also raise my hand. I hope you generally mean that, it has been a little bit helpful for you to make a journey forward. So thank you. So I guess with that, we'll pause here for today. Let me just see anything on the, okay, there is some question on the chat box here. Where in body our soul exists and how it leaves when we are dead? Well, we didn't discuss this question today, so you're jumping over the session. This matter about the body and soul, we'll have it in the 3rd week from today, which means in the 3rd session. All right, Deepti Shri, that was your question. Okay. The only thank you message is fine. Anyone saying anything? There are some questions here. Please go ahead, pass the mic here. Can you just say your name, please? Is it? Yeah, just not on. Online audience could not hear that. Yes, it's on now. Umesh.
Yeah, my
Yes,
name is
Umesh.
Umesh. I have a one question. I don't know. Should I ask right now or after 5
No,
sessions?
no worries. All
Okay.
questions are good. Please go ahead.
So,
and ask.
can I speak in Hindi?
Yes, totally
Because
fine.
that is, see, many session I
आप
have
हिंदी में बोलिए
attended.
आराम से,
Okay,
हाँ.
so there is one question like everybody say that okay, whatever is happening, मतलब जो भी हो रहा है, ठीक है, तो वो भगवान जी करते हैं. या आप ये भी एक पर्टिकुलर सेंटेंस सुने होंगे कि मेरी इच्छा के बगैर पत्ता भी नहीं हिलता. करेक्ट.
Correct.
तो मेरा ये कंसर्न है कि हम जो करते हैं या ये बंदा कर रहा है अगला, तो वो मैं तो नहीं कर रहा हूँ, या जो भी हो रहा है,
Destined.
या
क्या
जो
सब
भी,
कुछ destined है? Are you
हाँ,
into that?
तो जो भी मैं अगर गलत कर रहा हूँ या सही कर रहा हूँ, तो अगर मैं गलत करता हूँ फिर अब ये होता है कि बाद में बोला जाता है कि तुमने ऐसा कर दिया, इसके नाम से तुमको वो हो रहा है.
Correct.
कर्म आ जाता है, लेकिन कर्म भी मैं कहाँ से कर रहा हूँ? प्रभु की इच्छा से ही कर रहा हूँ. राइट.
So as I said, half knowledge is more dangerous than no knowledge. That's the whole point. We'll discuss this. 5th
Okay.
topic, then we'll talk about it.
Fine.
ये आधी अधूरी सुनी सुनाई खबरें हैं. जैसे one of the very famous quoted श्लोक of Bhagavad Gita is कर्मणा वादी कारस्ते. Work is worship, but they don't quote after that. मा फलेषु कदाचन. Work कर पर फल मेरा. That nobody talks about it. अब आधी अधूरी चीजें कोट करोगे तो व्यक्ति का एंड रिजल्ट भी आधा अधूरा निकलेगा ना. So when Krishna says, without my permission, nothing moves. But Krishna also says many other things along with it. So you cannot just take a half of the statement and then say, "Arey, aisa kaise hota hai?" It doesn't work like that. We need to know the whole statement to make it full meaning. So we'll have this topic covered in the 5th session, the last
Okay,
session.
fine. That's why I asked that. Should I ask that question
No, it's a good
today?
question. I'm glad we are thinking in that direction, but we'll have
Yeah.
that question for sure.
Okay,
And I'm
because
pretty sure many people would have this question: is destiny or is everything predestined?
yeah, because they see that in our, I would say that in our religion, I would say, okay, we have a right to ask question, right? I can ask a
Absolutely.
question and you can answer me so that everything will get clear. It is not like right now you say that everybody is reading and Suraj's hand. So that should be not happen.
Yeah, that's it. Our all text and Vedic scriptures are in question answer. Arjuna asking question to Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam's Shonakadi Rishi asking question to Sutta Goswami. There's always question answers. There is no concept of blind faith.
Right.
That's
Thank-
not Vedic culture. Vedic culture is Vedic science.
Right.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Yes, Mridula, right? Pass on the mic.
So we discussed about cosmic movements. It is controlled by God and it is created by God, and we are also created by God, but they do not make any mistakes while we are prone to mistakes. There is also some intelligence in those cosmic bodies and we also have intelligence. So what is the difference here? Why are we prone to making mistakes? Is this because of the senses that we possess and
Why
those-
we are prone to make mistakes and who is not prone to mistakes?
the cosmic bodies, the universe, they are
Everyone
also
in this universe is prone to mistakes. The director and the movie. There's only one person who is not in the movie, but is still in the movie, that is director. So in this movie, which means in this world, everyone is prone to mistake. Brahma ji makes mistakes, Shiv ji makes mistakes, Indra ji makes mistakes. Who doesn't make mistakes? Everyone makes mistakes. There's only one person who is existing outside of this creation, which means existing outside of the movie, the director. He's beyond it. So Lord is beyond that, not that other cosmic entities don't make mistakes. Whoever is born in this creation is prone to making mistakes. Okay. Thank you. I don't know, is Kapil, Marwa, and Bhakti Ratnakar Prabhu, they have hands up for something or what? So, all right, not very clear with that. So we conclude here. Thank you all for your kind attention. Sorry, we went a little overboard because we got late to start, 15 minutes like that. So as I said, as you allow me to start, as I end. So if you come on time, I end on time. All right. Yadru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all the online audience for joining in.